Mr. Drake,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused. So you're gonna have to help me here.
Yes, ma'am.
This makes it very clear that her mom is sick and that she wants to go to Missouri to take care of her mother, for which your response is go do what you need to do, which makes sense. That's
Yes,
still
ma'am.
what you're supposed to do. You're being family.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
take care of the Bonnie while you're gone.
Yes, ma'am.
She then tells you she's not going to leave without her baby. There's a suit that hits that prevents her from leaving because a suit prevents her from leaving the state with the child. And then you file a suit saying there's an abandonment.
Well, I wasn't, I mean,
All right, let's go ahead now. Michael Drake versus Leontay Kendall.
Very good, Your Honor. Should I start?
I think we have everyone here. Yep. Let's go ahead and ask Mr. Drake and Miss Kendall to raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Drake, I need to hear you.
sorry, Your Honor. Yes.
Thank you. And is there a court report on this matter?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then. Thank you so much. You may proceed.
Your Honor, very quickly, the parties are the mother and father of a minor child, Bonnie Drake, male born 2019. The parties never married. Father legitimated the child by order of Gwinnett Superior Court. Order entered April 20, 2021. The order of legitimation is attached to the petition. Father filed for a petition for custody and child support in March of 2023, seeking temporary and permanent joint legal and primary physical custody and a child support determination. I'm sorry, Judge, I got the same thing you do. Excuse me. Mother answered on April 5 of the same year at seeking primary physical custody and joint legal. Since that point, on April 26, father filed an emergency motion seeking sole legal and physical custody of the child based on the fact that the child was delivered to daycare on several occasions smelling of marijuana. Mother, delivery driver at the time, was taking the child on all-night travels with her, delivering the child the next day exhausted, dirty, and in soiled diapers. The child's behavior as a result, when mother was having parenting times, was aggressive, both towards the other children and daycare workers. And it is not believed that mother could or now can provide a healthy or stable home life for the child. It is to be noted that father and mother basically shared 50-50 custody prior to mother departing. And in terms of departing, since the filing of the emergency petition on or about May 15, without prior notice to father, mother left the jurisdiction to go to St. Louis, Missouri, simply dropping the child off at daycare with the child's clothes and informing the daycare worker to inform father. At this point, Your Honor, we're seeking temporary sole or primary physical legal custody. If visitation is granted, we'd ask that it be supervised and subject to other safeguards for the child. And we're asking for sole or joint legal custody with, if it's legal custody, father having final decision-making in all areas, in as much as mother isn't even here.
Okay.
Is it my turn to speak, Your Honor?
Yes, but hold on for a second. So right now, the father has custody of the child because mother left the child to go to St. Louis.
Right. And there's no
And what was the date that mother went to St. Louis again?
May 15, Your Honor.
May 15th of this year.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
All right. And the motion, the petition for custody was filed when?
The initial petition for custody was filed in April of 2021 is what I put down.
2020 what?
I'm sorry, 2020, March, I read the wrong line. Please forgive me, Your Honor. The initial petition for custody was filed in March 24 of 2023.
Okay, so the petition was filed before the mom left the child.
Right, the initial petition for custody. Essentially what happened, Judge, was father legitimated, they were still living together. There was no custody order in place as they were simply residing together. And then when they decided to split up at a point in time after that, father decided that he needed to establish his parental custodial rights, et cetera. And that's when he filed.
And Your Honor, before you proceed with that, actually, we broke up January 17, 2021. Me and his parents sat down and had a conversation December the 7th regarding legitimizing Michael Drake.
Judge,
By that time, January 17th, we were already broken up due to his abuse. And I had already moved out of the home.
I'm going to object.
Okay, well, she'll have an opportunity to present her opening. Let me know when you're done.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, then you may present your opening.
So, Your Honor, on March the 7th, 2023, Mr. Drake was given notice that I wanted to relocate from the state of Georgia due to the lack of physical and financial help from him and his family. The daycare that our son goes to is family owned. Now, since we have broken up January 17th.
As in his family owns the daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
What part of the family owns the daycare?
Mr. Drake's family, his mom and his brother, they are all in business together owning the daycare centers, the Creekstone Academies.
Oh, okay. So this is a family daycare. So when you drop them off at the family daycare, you're talking to family, basically saying you're out of town.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And also
Object.
Also to give notice to that statement there, he was told on April the 11th that I had already signed my new lease here in St. Louis, Missouri. I had even proposed a new co-parenting plan to him, which that was proposed to him on March the 7th. He said he needed time to think about it. He stalled communication. Once I reached back out to say, hey, where are we? What are you doing? What are you thinking of? He stated to me then through text message that he is thinking of something that will work out for the both of us. By that time, I had already told him like, hey, I gave my current apartment my notice to vacate. I had already secured an apartment here in St. Louis, Missouri, signed the lease. And that's when March 24th, March 29th, rather, I was served the custody papers. And to answer to the abandonment part of that, he had already had our son because we were still doing a week on and week off joint custody. He already had our son that week. When I gave him notice that I was leaving, I texted him and said, hey, my mother is sick and I have to leave due to the emergency because she has cancer. They had scheduled her a emergency operation and I had to leave. Given that I already gave my apartment my notice to vacate, I had to leave the baby there because of the notice to stay, that we couldn't take him out of the state. So I had to go ahead and turn over his belongings that I did have and move all of my things out of that said apartment because they already leased it out. So then I came here to St. Louis, but he also had notice of that. We have been talking via text message and FaceTime every day since May 17th, 2023 of this year. Now, when it comes to the marijuana, me dropping my baby off at daycare, smelling of marijuana and dirty soiled clothing, I have pictures that I've taken of our son day to day when I've had him. Since it is a family-owned and operated establishment, the daycare director, Angela, stated April the 4th, 2023, when I told her about the child custody case and could she go ahead and write the statement saying that all of last year, 2022, that I was called as the primary parent to come up to the daycare anytime that Bonnie was
I'm gonna
sick,
object based on hearsay.
anytime that Bonnie was sick.
Okay, so you can't say what she said, but if you're saying something you told her, I will give you some leeway with regard to that. But if you're saying something she said, you cannot say something she said.
Okay, but I did tell her about the case, and I asked her to provide the proper documentation that will refute all of those allegations against me. And also I asked the teachers there. I was told then after that, April the 11th, that they could not provide the proper documentation.
Okay, because they're saying that what they're refusing to do, I'm just going to give her some leeway on that regard, Mr. Tanner. All right, go ahead.
Because at that point, it's family owned. I can't get the documentation that I need because I was told that it was against the law and that they should not get involved in the case. So I couldn't get the documentation that I needed from the daycare workers, stating that I never dropped him off in dirty, soiled clothing. He never smelled the marijuana, and that his behavior only started when the case got into the courts. Then Bonnie has not acted out beforehand at that magnitude. And then also to double back to Michael stating that he wasn't aware of me leaving, Michael had knowledge January 11th of 2023 when he stated to me via text message that then Bonnie would have to come live with me full time, given that his parents said that then Bonnie would be a threat living there because he wasn't vaccinated. He then on stayed at my house for a week extra, coming over, parenting then Bonnie in my home, which was set up with his learning center, reading center, and play area with a little dinner table for a toddler. He cared for Thin Bonnie in my home. So given that, with all of this being said, we've been co-parenting now for 2.5 years. With all that being said, how come now I'm just an unfit mom? How come now I'm all of a sudden a mom who's smoking around her child? And then when it comes to me being a delivery driver, I drive for Uber. I don't deliver. And I know I couldn't present this into the court odyssey, but just given here, I even have my monthly statements from Uber, how much I drive and how much I make a month, because that's how much I drive at the time. And that's the only thing I do. You can't take a baby while you're picking up passengers. I feel like, to just state the least, that Mr. Drake did this because I was leaving the state of Georgia. I did propose to him a new co-parenting plan that I did present to the family division services when I went to try to get counsel. I was told at the time that it was a very fair plan. I had told him that the plan was that he can get them Bonnie summers, May through August, every school break, every holiday, and anytime planned visits, as long as they're planned and agreed to. That's when he then stalled me and said, I will have to think about that. And I was also then served papers instead of just communicating.
When was the legitimation done?
Excuse me, Your Honor. The legitimation was done April 2021.
April of 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, was a parenting plan put in place, or was it just as they?
No, ma'am, because the parties were living together at that time.
Objection, we were not living together. We broke up January 17th. I was living in the apartment that we shared. He had then moved back in with his parents.
Judge, I'm sorry.
Regardless, that is not, that issue, that answer doesn't really make much of a difference. So the court, I just wanted to know when the legitimation was, and I don't think there's any dispute that it was in April of 2021. Whether they were living together or not is not important. What's important is if there's a parenting plan, I'll look at it, and if there isn't, there isn't. So that's the issue. All right, so I've heard from both of you with regard to the issues that I've been looking out for. Based on the motion that I saw, it looked as if you were filing for a motion for a guardian ad litem in the case. Let me ask you, are you asking for a guardian ad litem for what reasons? Because it sounds like they've been co-parenting for 2.5 years. Why do you need?
Well, the issue as to her drug use, etc., has escalated. Moreover, she's left the jurisdiction. There's nothing in place. The parties had joint physical custody, essentially, de facto joint physical custody. And now she is seeking to remove the child from the jurisdiction to possibly live in St. Louis. Seems to me that a guardian ad litem is necessary to fully investigate the issues.
Fully investigate the issue of how the child.
Some of us have to have primary custody here, right? Because of the distance between the parties. Someone's going to have to be the final decision maker, and the parties are in disagreement as to who that should be. So I felt that a guardian ad litem is the best course for the most thorough investigation to occur.
I probably would feel that way again, and I'll hear from you. I'm not going to foreclose it, but if you've already been co-parenting for 2.5 years, to me, there's a less need for a guardian. And then for the issue with the drugs, generally that would be important. But if she's in St. Louis, there really isn't much a guardian ad litem is going to do on drugs because she doesn't have the kid.
And also, I'm currently pregnant right now, and I left the state as well to be of less stress. And again, my mother is sick. He knew that. I have text messages proving that he had told me.
Hello.
I'm sorry, it was my connection, Your Honor.
Yeah. Listen, I need for both of you to just kind of make sure everybody listens because, I know what I need and I just want to get to what I need. All right. This is, you'll have your full day in court at some point, but right now we're just kind of dealing with particular issues. So I need to know that particular information. The other stuff is just extraneous. I can't do anything with it. So there's no need of giving it to me. Okay. So with regard to the child right now, Miss Marie, do you have, or is there any plan right now for the child to visit with you? What's the plan right now?
The plan right now, I would like for him to visit, for the summer if he can.
Okay, right now you all are not visiting with the child.
No, I haven't been able to visit because of now my pregnancy. I'm about 5 months long almost, so I can't travel as much as I would like to. Okay,
so when you left in May, you were pregnant.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you guys haven't been together since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Mm-hmm. And was Mr. Drake aware that you were pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's not Mr. Drake's child, just FYI, obviously.
Oh yeah, okay. I made that assumption, but you're right. I should have asked.
Yeah, little tequila, little moonlight,
Never know. Never know. All right. I apologize. All right. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and swear your client in. Let me tell you where I want to go. I want to go to the drug issue. So I want to know what particularly he was speaking of and whether or not there was any drug uses in the home when they were both together. And then I want to know what he's particularly talking about now. Here's my thing, and I think to some extent, Miss Marie on here, Miss
Kendall
mentioned it. If you're co-parenting for 2.5 years, usually issues of being unfit becomes more apparent before 2.5 years hit. So whether the child is dirty or not cleaned, those things are important, but it doesn't necessarily make me overly worried about abuse and drug use and things of that nature, and just kind of being unfit. I need to hear evidence where we're talking about actual unfit, because that's going to make a difference. I mean, whether somebody brings a kid to you and their hair is not washed, I mean, it's important, but it's not going to make me say you can't visit your child because you didn't wash his hair. So get me to the meat of what you're talking about so that I'll know whether or not I need to back up and give more time to your issue, or whether or not this is kind of be more of an expedited matter. Okay, so give me a moment and then we'll get started.
Sorry,
All
I'm
right.
clicking in.
All right.
Judge, I think that the first and best witness actually would be Ms. Ficklin. She is the daycare worker who observed the situation. So if it's okay with the court, I'd like to swear her in first. I think that would focus most on your issues.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Flicklin, if you would open your video. All right, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Ms. Ficklin, I cannot hear you. Can you turn up your volume, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Ms. Ficklin,
Yes.
okay. Ms. Ficklin, will you please state your name?
Jordan Ficklin.
And Ms. Ficklin, what do you do for a living?
I work as a daycare worker at Creekstone Academy.
How long have you worked there?
7 months.
And what are your day-to-day responsibilities at Creekstone Academy?
Watching over the children, teaching the children. Those are my day-to-day duties.
Okay, was one of the children Thimbani Drake?
He was.
And how long did you watch over him?
I watched over Thimbani until May.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Until May.
Okay. And until May, from when did you start watching him?
I started watching Thimbani when I started in November.
Okay. Did you know anything about Thimbani's parents?
Not much. I seen them and drop off and pick up, but that was pretty much it. I didn't know what they had going on at home.
Okay. Did you have any concerns about Thimbani while he was in your care?
The only concerns I had was when his actions started, when he started to act out of normal a couple of months ago.
And how did it, can you explain in a little bit more detail what he was acting out of normal meant?
He would scream when we would try to get something he didn't want to do. He would begin to throw toys across the room, and he also began to hit the teachers.
Did you mention this to both his parents?
I mentioned it to Mom. I did also mention it to Thimbani's grandmother, his dad's father. No, his dad's mother, I'm sorry.
Did you ever notice Thimbani smelling of anything when he was delivered to the daycare?
Only one particular time, and that was his book bag, but no other time after that or before.
And what did it smell like?
It just smelled like a little bit of marijuana. That's it.
Okay, and who delivered him to school that day? Do you know?
It was his mother.
And did you have any knowledge of Thimbani clothing, and did his mother share with you anything about taking Thimbani with her to work?
To work, it was just one time she mentioned Thimbani rode with her one time, but other than that, no.
And was that at night or during the day? Do you know?
She didn't mention the time of day.
Okay. So is it your testimony that mother was taking Thimbani with her at least one time to work?
That is one time that I know of.
Okay. Do you know where Ms. Thimbani's mother is now?
From what I just heard, St. Louis, no. Before that, no.
Okay. Were you at the daycare when Ms. Kimball dropped off Thimbani for the last time?
Pretty sure I was. I don't recall what date it was.
And do you recall Thimbani being dropped off with his clothing or bags of clothing at that time?
I was in the room at that time when his clothing was dropped off. I wasn't in the office.
Okay, did you see the clothing in bags after he was dropped off?
The clothes, did I see the clothing in the office?
Yeah.
Yes, I did see the clothing in the office.
Have you been in communication with Thimbani, Thimbani's mother since she left?
No, I have not.
Has, and I'm sorry, ma'am, you fade in and out. I don't know what the microphone's doing. It may just be that. Did you ever have concerns when Mr. Drake was dropping off the child at school?
I did not have any concerns when he was dropping it off.
And was the child always, did the child ever smell like marijuana when he was dropping off the child?
No,
Did the book bag ever smell like marijuana when he was dropping off the child?
no,
And was the child always delivered in clean clothing and looking like he had a good night's sleep?
yes.
The time period where you smelled the weed in the book bag, what time period was that? What, like month?
I don't recall what month or time period it was.
I have no further questions there, Your Honor.
Okay, you said you don't remember the month or the time period for the book bag?
No, I do not.
When did you mention it to someone?
Yes, the morning that it happened, I mentioned it to the front office.
And who's in the front office?
The directors,
Who is?
Miss Angela.
Who?
Miss Angela.
And was that ever mentioned to mom or any of mom and or dad?
I mentioned it to Miss Angela. I didn't mention it to any parents.
And you don't know if it was May, April, November, December?
I don't recall. It was in the year of 2023, but I don't recall what month it was.
And what made you certain that the smell that you were smelling was marijuana when you said it was a little bit of, what do you mean?
I wasn't certain that it was the smell, but it kind of was towards the smell of it. But that's why I just made a mention of it to the front.
Okay. All right.
Judge, may I ask?
Ms. Kendall, you may present.
Oh, Judge, I was asking.
Do you have questions, Mr. Tannen?
Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you may proceed.
Is Miss Angela is not related to Mr. Drake at all, right? What's Miss Angela's last name? Do you know?
Robinson.
Okay. And she's not the grandmother or grandfather, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay, the Hart who's the grandfather. And you've smelled weed before, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, you may ask questions of Ms. Ficklin.
Your Honor.
Yes.
So Ms. Ficklin, anytime that I dropped Bonnie off, has he been dirty or looked like he wasn't presentable?
It was just one time his diaper was full, but you did bring him to school in new clothes.
And any time that I was called up to the school during the time that you were watching Bonnie, did I abuse him or talk to him in any angered way? Anything?
While you were in the classroom, you didn't yell at Bonnie. You didn't hit Bonnie. You always talked to him in a nurturing manner. So no, you didn't.
And anytime that Bonnie did act out, did I always come up there instantaneously to either talk to him or just take him home with me?
You did sometimes.
What?
What'd you say?
I said she did sometimes.
Okay, and during the I would say the last month that I was in the state of Georgia and Bonnie was acting out, can you just describe to the court my behavior towards Bonnie? What did you witness?
You would come into the classroom. He would calm down a lot because he would be like I said, hitting us, throwing toys, screaming, trying to run out the door. And you would come in there, ask him what's wrong. You would tell him, you have on twice that I can't remember, had him apologize to us, but you didn't scream or raise your voice.
And anytime that then Bonnie did need a refill on diapers or change of clothes, did I make it a point to always bring what he needed up there?
Yes, it's been times that I've asked you to bring diapers for Timbani. You brought them the next day. You've actually brought us 2 packs of diapers.
Okay, I think that's all of my questions.
If I may, Your Honor. Ms. Ficklin, did Mr. Drake also provide diapers to the child when needed?
He did provide diapers.
Did Mr. Drake also show up if he was called for conferences and times to be with the child?
When we call, I've never called for a conference, but most times if he couldn't get off of work, grandmother or grandfather would come get him.
And if he could get off from work, he did come, is that right?
Yes.
Was that a yes, ma'am? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Grandmother, is she at the facility?
Not right now, not this facility.
Which facility are you at?
Oh, she's not located at any facility. I'm located at the Creekstone in Atlanta on Memorial Drive.
Okay.
And just one last question for Ms.
So the
Bickman.
Creekstone, okay. So Creekstone and Memorial, is that also related to the one on Deshaun?
Yes.
Okay, so let me disclose, and then you can figure out how you wish to proceed. So I believe I'm familiar with the Drakes at Creekstone. My children went there from 0 to 4. I haven't seen them or talked with them in several years, but I remember, I believe, might be wrong, but I believe Miss Drake did pay or did give me funds for my election. So I subscribe that I am not conflicted, but because I've disclosed that information to you, you could ask the court to be recused. Or I can proceed today on these proceedings, and then you can ask afterwards. I'll give you 5 days afterwards.
I'm ready to proceed, Your Honor, and I appreciate your candor. And if the court is going to grant 5 days after, then I guess,
Okay.
I can address it if need be.
Right. What's your position?
I think I would like to proceed as well.
Okay. Yes. All right. All right, you may proceed. Do you have any additional questions for Ms. Ficklin?
No more.
I had one more.
Oh,
All right, go ahead.
So Jordan, the last week that then Bonnie, 2 weeks before then Bonnie was moved to a different location, we had a verbal conversation just about Bonnie's behavior. Now, is it true that you did mention that whenever then Bonnie does act up and you call the front desk to let them know, they do not call Dad to have him to come up there, but I do get called to come up there?
No, they do call Dad, but most times Grandma comes and gets him.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one question, Ms. Ficklin, with regard to the child acting up. The allegation is that the child was on a week on, week off with between mom and dad. Did you know which week
I would know which week by who dropped him, well, who came and got him on that week. So by like, I started in November, so by December, I knew in my mind who was coming next week and who was coming that week, the week after. They were pretty consistent on that.
Uh-huh. All right. And okay, so you were aware just by the fact that who came that the child was probably between parents.
Yes.
And the child acting out, is it your position that the child only act out on the weeks that mom had the child, or was that the child had general behavioral issues?
I would say Thumbani had general behavioral issues because it started to become where he acted out on both weeks towards the end.
And Ms. Fickling,
Mhm.
this is important, so I need to make sure I'm stressing this. Other than the time that you smelled the marijuana, were there any other issues regarding mom, mental health or behavior?
I've never seen her personally act out anyway in front of Thumbani. So I wouldn't say she had any mental health behavioral issues from what I've noticed.
All right, thank you. All right, then, so Mr. Tannen, thank you, Ms. Fickling, you are free to leave, thank you. Do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Tannen?
Yes, Your Honor, I call Michael Drake, Your Honor.